Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Anyone Can Move podcast. This is your host, Caroline Gerhardt. I'm so excited to welcome all of you to listening to season 3 of Anyone Can Move. Now, if you're a longtime listener of the podcast, you're probably wondering, I've never heard this voice before. Who is Caroline? Well, I'll tell you. My name is Caroline Gerhardt. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I am going to be a senior this year at Troy University, and I'm a double major in dance and broadcast journalism. And I have been so blessed to spend this past summer of 2021 working with the company Art and Flight and hosting this podcast, Anyone Can Move. Now, our special guest for this episode today, if you again are a longtime listener of the podcast, you'll recognize his voice because our guest today is CEO of Art and Flight, Mr. James Boyd, world-renowned dancer, choreographer, performer, professor, teacher. He does it all, everyone. He does it all. I was so excited to get to talk to James today and get to know a little bit more about him, things that I hadn't learned before, and just talk a lot about some of the things that dancers might not talk about or acknowledge. And, that's kind of our general theme for this season, talking about things that might not get mentioned or are kind of swept under the rug in the world of dance, and bringing them to light not only so that dancers acknowledge them as topics and themes that are okay to discuss, but also so that any of our listeners who aren't dancers or don't move regularly or don't know a lot about dance can start to understand that it's not, we're not trying to gatekeep anything. This is an art form that is so welcoming that we want everybody to be able to experience. And like the title of the podcast, we do believe that anyone can move and anyone can learn about movement and start at any age. So, again, thank you so much for joining us for season 3. And without further ado, here is my conversation with Mr. James Boyd. Hello, listeners, and good morning. James, thank you so much for joining us today on Anyone Can Move, season
Of
3.
course. Yes. Thank you for inviting me and having me on.
Of course, of course. We're so glad to have you today, and just get to know a little bit more about you and talk to you about some stuff regarding the world of dance. So, just to give our listeners a little bit of background, James, can you tell us a little bit about your career in dance and how you got to where you are now?
Oh, good. Uh, so my career started with a letter that persuasive letter that I sent out to Rasta Thomas because he had a fabulous company titled Bad Boys of Dance. And from that letter that was poorly written, apparently, after having a discussion with Rasta later on, the letter, I guess, had the correct bullet points because he invited me in to audition and everything like that. And that's how kind of the water began to boil for a career. So I started dancing with Bad Boys of Dance, shadowing Rasta Thomas and Adrian Canterna. And from there, opportunities just fell into place. Really, the company was just so active, traveling internationally, performing domestically. Uh, for example, our first gig, I guess we could say, was performing uh, for on stage with Elton John and Lady Gaga, Mary J. Blige for a rainforest benefit in Carnegie Hall. So the water began to boil quite quickly, and then after that, traveling to Germany, to Spain, UK, Australia, just around the world, performing. Those performances led to guest opportunities in specific galas, gala in Mexico, a prestigious gala in Russia titled Dance Open, where I just met just a lot of fabulous people and amazing dancers. That My career then continued forward. I was a guest artist for a show titled "So You Think You Can Dance," guest performer, and then that led to Bad Boys of Dance, then transitioning into what is now called Bad Boys of Ballet. And Bad Boys of Ballet that name originated from our, I guess, our endeavor, our competitive nature on the show titled America's Got Talent. We Bad Boys of Ballet. We made it through two world premieres on the show. So that was just amazing. Just an amazing feat, an amazing adventure. Um, we did not win the show, of course, but my gosh, the experience and all of the above was just wild. Talk about being shot out of a cannon, right? Uh,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and and we're surrounded by, and I was surrounded by just fabulous people, talented dancers, amazing humans. Uh, the performance career kind of goes on from there, but those are some of the highlights, and that led to me being curious and asking questions, sitting down with different producers while on tour, and those questions and my curiosity built up an overall internal drive to inspire and share. So I taught a lot while I was on tour around the world, and here domestically with a company titled Manhattan Dance Project here in the US, and then specific organized events internationally, such as just kind of like in Africa, or transitioning over a lot in Germany in terms of teaching. That led me to receive an adjunct position with Jacksonville University. I was there for as adjunct teaching for 1 year, and then I transitioned over, and now present time, I am a full-time faculty member um, for the Department of Theater and Dance at Troy University. Uh, I recently received my Master's of Fine Arts from Jacksonville University in 2020. Uh, just exciting there. I've created a business titled Art and Flight Incorporated, all from the inspiration of my past to move forward. And that's basically, when you funnel everything down, that's basically uh, uh, ran off of a mission of just me being curious on how many people I can inspire, per day, all the way leading to a year. What's that number? I'm curious about that. So Art and Flight helps and allows me to produce opportunity, and produce um, just that, an attractive nature toward what we do, which is dance. From there, I am the Chief Operations Officer for United Ballet Theater, a brand new ballet company in Orlando, Florida, under the artistic direction of Joseph Gotti. Uh, I am always on the go and always active. I will say that. But those are some of the highlights. And currently just happy. And at the same time, nervous, uh, which then explains my need to be active.
Mm, most definitely. Well, if those are just some of the highlights, I can only imagine all of the other incredible things that you've experienced, because that's just such a incredible list of opportunities and experiences that you've had just from one little letter, even if it was poorly written initially. um, but with all of those experiences, and listeners, if you go back to our episode where James and I spoke live on Facebook Live, he explained a little bit about where his dance education started, and how it was kind of spur of the moment, wasn't necessarily planned, but with all of those kind of spontaneous experiences, do you have a thing that dance brought to your life that you maybe wouldn't have expected it to bring?
Uh, yes, it's brought an overall perspective for me, and it's something that I live by now, and moving forward. It's this choreographic perspective that I have. Dance has created that for me, and what I mean by that is, I believe everything around us is movement. Everything's moving around us. And as the choreographer and my perspective in seeing movement, I believe uh, we have the skill, humans and people, dancers especially, and choreographers, to handle that movement. Um, and that is something that just makes me happy and smile. And because when you start to kind of visualize something that isn't moving in our, I guess, surfaced reality, but when you see a solid and you know kind of like the quantum theory behind it,
Mhm.
within it, there's movement all around. She's like, oh, I can handle that.
Mhm.
I can choreograph that in a way that could be organized. I can, I'm not talking about manipulating nature, but nature is already just around us and we can collaborate with it in a way.
Right.
So from a choreographic perspective, it's kind of like anything goes and everything's valid. Dance has brought this mindset. Dance hasn't picked it up and actually handed it to me, but dance has motivated me
Mhm.
to think in this way.
Right. It's so interesting. I think that some people who maybe are not necessarily involved in the arts or involved in dance kind of see dancers as this little group. Like there's just this understood camaraderie between dancers. And I think that has so much to do with it that we are given so many just opportunities to handle things and to understand each other in different ways. Um, and so I do think that's so interesting that, we do have that camaraderie amongst dancers that other people might not understand necessarily. And I think it does have so much to do with our mindset. Dancers are often kind of type A people, and we have a goal and we want to achieve it and we want to get to it. And I do think what you were saying has so much to do with that we are given different opportunities to find ways to handle things through movement. And that definitely has something to do with that camaraderie that we all experience and that other people might not necessarily understand if they're not a part of it. Um,
Right, right. Well, it's this is an objective view. Like there's evidence that there's movement all around us. So that's what I mean by objective. It's fact. And then we have subjectivity. We have the patterns that we learn about and that we have within our, a dancing spine, if you will, the movements that overall make us a particular style or a particular type of mover. We have those patterns to back us up. So when we realize that there's movement all around us, then there's a point to why we train so hard. You have to have the ability to possibly handle the movement. You have to have the skills to even to see the movement around you.
right,
Right? The dancers with the skills that can recognize the movement around and then connect those movements with ideas, create an analogy, and then take that analogy and write about it, or take that analogy and turn it into movement. Those are your choreographers. Someone that's not viewing in listening, or someone who doesn't agree with the choreographer's perspective, they would say that's a scientist or a
yeah,
philosopher, right? But and then it's the dancer's job to show the skill, that the skill is to understand movement, not just the instructor in front of you, but the instructor in front of you that's moving should inspire you to see the correlation that's around you. So there's an ability there. There's a skill to hone, and I think that's fascinating. I think it's beautiful. It may be limited, but within just a lifetime, it's almost something that anyone can reach for. And then do you actually successfully obtain all of the movement knowledge that's around you? Is that even possible? But how cool if you aim for that. And then what are the successes that come from just striving to learn and understand all of the movements around you. I think it's beautiful.
Oh, I completely agree. And it's so interesting that you bring up like scientists and like other career paths relating to dance, because I think so often um it's misconstrued that dance is this whole other entire being, that it has nothing to do with anything subjective or mathematical. And so often you see dancers and actors and artists who also have a PhD in something not related to art or something scientific, like you were saying. And so finding that correlation in that movement and how there's movement in everything, um, I think is definitely a bridge that needs to be, or a gap in the bridge that we need to fill, because I think it would help people understand a lot more about what we do and what it means. That's so interesting.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, just to add on to that, I found, with science you can publish,
Mhm.
and that means you can publish, and someone can read your work. Math, you can show someone the equations,
Mhm.
and you can also publish.
Right.
And then with movement, or let's just say with dance, yeah, you can publish, and you can talk about, and you can try to create the analogies and write those analogies down and all of the above. But what we're talking about, what we do, the skill, the ability, the movement, the notation, is something that exists,
Mhm.
but is something that we should really, really hone in on, and start to master, so we can publish the same amount and the same quantity as a scientist would, as a philosopher would, as a mathematician can. So I just wanted to add that on, because if we're talking about, okay, uh, correlation and collaboration, agreeing and not agreeing, that's publishing is where science and math and philosophy and other traditional arts can really leave us.
Most certainly, yeah. Well, I would love to know, do you have a certain goal that you hope to accomplish in your career, like a goal that you it's like the walking on the moon, it's like the one, and it could be in your dance career, it could be in your business career. I'd just be really interested to hear about that.
The James Boyd goal.
Yeah.
I love a good goal. I love short term, long term goals. So okay, this comes with a little story. So I'm inspired by Elon Musk.
Mm.
Uh, who I'm not sure of his background, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't dance. But Elon Musk, the founder of a Tesla, and now has the ability to work with NASA, and build these amazing contracts that create spaceships to transport things from our planet out into space. So that that idea, or the thing that's actually occurring for Elon, this construction of a spaceship, a transport from our planet to space, was Elon's ultimate goal.
Wow.
Or yeah, I can say ultimate goal, and then I'll come back and explain the beyond horizon goal. I don't know Elon Musk, his beyond horizon goal, and by what I mean by that is, to explain his ultimate goal, is his beyond horizon goal would be, or my beyond horizon goal is, it suggests I can't see it. I don't know what's possible. I don't know anything. There's no skill. There's no one who can guide me. I just believe
Mhm. Yeah.
that if I remain active, that sooner or later I will reach beyond my horizon, beyond my sight. So Elon's ultimate goal was to create transport from planet to space. And he's doing that. His beyond the horizon goal. I have no idea what that is, but I just know he has one because of just his subjective, the patterns, his timeline here on this planet and what he's accomplished. So my goal is a beyond the horizon goal.
Yeah.
And it's not my ultimate goal. I'm currently working on some of my ultimate goals.
Yeah.
And they're currently happening. You know, I'm not sending people out into space, but maybe in an imaginative way. But my beyond the horizon goal is this. I aim for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Mm.
Yeah, right. And it's a process, but a unilateral process of understanding nature from a choreographic or a choreographer's perspective. That's what I'm aiming for. I believe viewing the viewing nature from a choreographer's perspective creates um, and could possibly create a unilateral process that would create an understanding for all perspectives. There's ongoing work that I'm doing with uh, companies such as ATI in collaboration, companies such as eTrack, which is a biofeedback technology company, Intrigger, biofeedback technology company, conversations with philosophers, uh, me, me, me going above and beyond and being inspired by astrophysicists and mathematicians such as Brian Greene, uh, Christoph Galford, just some of their books. Brian Greene, I have it here actually, has a fabulous read that, if I can just plug this in for Brian.
Yes.
The Hidden Reality by Brian Greene, and then The Universe in Your Hand by Christoph Galford. So, and I'm a huge fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson, but when you put all of this together, uh, in a way, or from my seat, a choreographer's position, um, you start to find patterns. You start to use your choreographic methods. I start to see the different elements and the reconciliation of the two different parts in at any one time. And there's twos everywhere, there's pairs everywhere. And if you start to make those connections and then you bottle them all up and you choreograph them, that is going to create some type of understanding that people could view, and we could call it a performance.
Yeah.
We do that already, right, with
Yeah.
body. Yeah. So that's the goal. And I'm aiming for a Nobel Peace Prize, and I'm going to choreograph my way there.
And such a goal. I mean, it's so interesting the way you phrase it too, though, because excuse me, dance and movement is so universal. And one can only make that correlation that something that universal that everybody can understand without language barrier, without, you know, it's universal. Everybody understands movement, whether they realize it or not. Um,
Right. Because, well, every body, a body, like we move.
mhm. Yeah,
So everyone has some type of analogy that connects, that can connect to movement,
right.
or an analogy that can connect to choreography, an
Mhm.
analogy that can connect to dance. Highlighting those analogies may create understanding.
Understanding for certain. Yeah, that's great. Um, do you feel that you have any specific um, ultimate goal that could lead you to that beyond horizon goal?
Yeah, I that's why I teach or instruct, and uh, Yes, my goal is to inspire as many people as I can per you know, well, just in case you don't, per day, per week.
Right.
That leads to per month, per year, and then per day, how many people, per week, how many people.
Right.
I just want to know rather than saying per day and then you just do the math. No, I look at the inspiration rate per day, per week as separate scores there. But yeah, I teach to inspire, and that helps fuel my activity because when teaching, I teach in a way of telling an individual to reorganize their mind, be curious,
Mhm.
and when that individual starts to become inspired and they start to influence their own mind and come up with their reasoning, then it's theirs. It's unknown. I couldn't figure that out. So then they counter, and then that individual is sharing what they have found and their discoveries and their reveal. You multiply that by hundreds of different talented artists that I get to share information with. And those are ideas, those are patterns, those are influential perspectives
Right.
that are so important that will lead to a source of information that may lead to a source of information, a current, um, kind of like a hot air balloon. Every single time an individual has an idea created by their own mind, it just fuels that balloon, and then the balloon can inflate. The inflation period is just always expanding in that way. So yeah, I have an unorthodox way of of instructing, of teaching, of sharing how to move forward. But at the end of the day, there's evidence that it works.
Right.
So I'm happy about that, and I am on a really good path. Um, and we'll see. We will see. I know there's a possibility, so there we go. We aim,
Mhm.
and I know that the Nobel Peace Prize is something that I have no idea. Someone's probably laughing listening to this, like this guy thinks, but sure, but like I my understanding of what's impossible has the word possible in it. So it's just an overall outlook, and I've reorganized my mind. I have my beliefs. I can have a conversation on based on the questions that are unresolved at the moment. So it yeah, yeah. To go back to what you initially asked, as I enjoy rambling, but I hope it's interesting to listen to. But I believe I'm on a good path, and I believe my path can be better. I think I'm on gravel, and some say asphalt's better. And then I want to try concrete, but I think I'm on the right path, but there's of course adjustments. I still need help. I'm still asking questions, but I will get there, and I believe I have the correct outline.
Most definitely. We got to hear a little bit just now about um, your teaching experience, and with that being said, do you have a specific lesson that you feel like is most important to give to your next generation of dancers that you teach and inspire?
Uh, yes. Okay. Yeah, it's this. Life is life is an ongoing lesson.
Mm,
That's what I would like everyone to know and realize. Just know
yeah.
that that's what life is. So that means what? Understand your right to create the lesson plan and not follow someone else's, but rather be inspired.
Mhm.
Create. If life is an ongoing lesson, then there are analogies that are in place. If you've gone through school, or if you're in the middle of classes, or sure, it's summertime now, but whenever you're listening to this, it doesn't matter. You've gone through some type of education, or you've had some type of person giving you instruction, yeah, sharing instruction, and that instruction they're sharing, there's a moral to it, that there's a lesson there. And when you receive that lesson, that you, you 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 want to take the information and organize it so you create your understanding of it.
Yeah.
um I don't know, it's a matter of, when you think about that, life is an ongoing lesson. Any way you think about that statement, will, I believe, will propel the person thinking about that statement in the correct direction.
Right. That
That's what would happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so many people say the term, that learning doesn't stop after your education ends, your formal education. If you, and people who go on to get masters and PhDs, like your master's process, I think it's so important to look at not just those formal education experiences, but also everyday life, like you're saying, is everything has a lesson in it. And once we start observing our world in that way, um, the possibilities of what we can learn are endless. It seems, at least.
Well, yeah, yeah, and I I don't want to lead us into just me having a bone to pick, but it, we think about this, right? Here's the pattern. You have elementary school. Well, here in the US, you have elementary school, and then you go into middle school, and then you have high school, and then high school leads to a college, and then that can lead to additional studying,
Hmm.
right? That elementary school, you're receiving instruction. You're saying yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Middle school, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. You're receiving information. Oh, that's how that works. Okay. And then we move forward. High school, that's how that works. Okay. We move forward. These things about our life and how we're living. College, that's how that works. Wait a second. I can decide. I can start to choose. I can start to make choices. But then how do I do that? How? And then you graduate and you've made some choices. And then
Right.
now you're in open water,
Hmm.
and you have a lot to figure out. You have a lot of analogies. You have to go all the way back to elementary school and then create those analogies. That's today. We can do more if we create the analogies elementary school, right? As instructors, create those analogies in elementary, create the examples in middle school, create the examples in high school. And then when you're in college, you can exercise,
Hmm.
you know, and put all of those choices to the test. As a dancer, a tendu is this, right? The articulation of the foot as it moves away from your body, and then as the foot allows the leg to move closer to the body, right? The movement of the foot, the pressure, the dynamic, the quality and quantity of internal and external movement of that tendu is this. You have instructors that are saying, this is how you do the thing, and you go, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. The the lesson is yours. Life is an ongoing lesson, the lesson that we have to learn. And I'm claiming we should learn it sooner, because we're learning it later. I don't know when that point. I can't define late, but I just know it's late.
Right.
But what we have to learn is yes, the instruction is one side, but on the other end, our responsibility is to take the instruction and handle it and organize it. Say, okay, if instruction is food, I'm going to taste the food and I'm going to decide if I like it. And here are the reasons why I like that food. All right. And now, based on those reasons, here's what I think about that food, or here's what I think about that tendu. Here's what a tendu is. Here's what I believe. How many things can you actually explain you believe in?
Right.
rather than explaining someone else's belief. What are your beliefs? And there's micro movements, there's billions of different things to think about and create a belief on.
Right.
I wrote this down the other day, and it goes along the line of just life is an ongoing lesson. And, it's this idea of if you don't study, you fail. If not active, we perish.
Mm,
So I'm still, I wrote that down from the choreographer's perspective, but that's just the way it is. Uh, and success is okay. So success is a reveal of your understanding. Okay. So life is an ongoing lesson. Why should I go through all of this?
right.
What is the point? Well, you want to be
Yeah.
successful. Success is a reveal of your understanding. So understand the things that you are learning. So reveal of your understanding of the lesson.
Right.
What's your understanding of the lesson? And if you can reveal that understanding of the lesson, then that is a small success. That is a large success, your ultimate success. But we have these little micro successes that we can share. Why else is it so exciting when you do graduate college? I have my degree. Like, why is that exciting? Well, I did a lot of hard work. Great. you know, that's all
Spent a
good.
lot of money to get there.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money. That's fabulous. Okay, but it's this idea that everyone around you, they're so excited because you've gone through a assortment of lessons, and it's an underlining understanding that everyone has, that if you've gone through all of this jungle, this Amazon of lessons, you probably have had many opportunities to reveal all of those lessons. Or since you've gone through those lessons, you're probably about to reveal all of all of your understanding. And that is exciting. Wow. Okay. They're graduating. They're about to reveal some stuff. And if you reveal it, then that means that suggests success.
Mhm.
I claim that's why people are excited when people graduate
Yeah.
college, high school.
True.
Not even so. There you go. My long-winded answer, but that was a really good one. But life is an ongoing lesson.
Yeah. And everything you say, the way you describe it, does make so much sense in how structured formal education is in elementary, middle, high school, and then you get into college. And sometimes you would expect it to get a little bit more, you're exploring, and some people don't have that opportunity. And so looking outside into that idea that your whole life is a lesson, I think is definitely going to be very inspirational for some people. Um, Now, James, you described earlier when you were talking about your career, everything you've done. And I think everyone who's listening could agree that you have done a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. In all of the dance and arts world, which aspect are you most interested in?
Yeah, choreography.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, choreography allows me to stay in my lane.
Mhm.
As a choreographer, from a choreographer's perspective, I can still dabble into science and math, and I can still produce. I can still market and advertise. It's just from a choreographer's perspective. I choreograph all of the above. Choreography allows me to reveal my discoveries to those in need of inspiration. This is why I teach. It's why I still dance.
Yeah.
I perform. It's why I choreograph. Once again, it's why I produce. It's why I build.
Yeah.
And that's the most interesting thing, really, and that's what dance has produced. That's what dance has clarified for me.
Right.
It's allowed me to find this choreographic voice. And with this voice, there's, in my mind, no other voice that can reach the decibel level that I can.
Yeah, that's um so incredible that you have found that voice that can fulfill so many different tasks of what you want to accomplish. The fact that you can use that one role as choreographer and apply it to so many other roles. That's just so, the way you handle that, I'm sure makes your life easier in some aspects. Aside from like separating all of those things into different roles.
Absolutely, absolutely. It started off that way. I had this strategic mind of just, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do A, I'm going to do B, and then, oh, but X is so interesting. Okay, I'm going to try that. Oh,
Right.
well, here's H. How cool is H? Okay. So 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 what I'm trying to explain here is I started off categorizing and everything was, all of my tasks and intensities were separated, and separate. Uh, and finding a choreographic voice allows me to take all of the things I'm interested in and put them on one stage, on one platform, and look at all of these interests as bodies and choreograph them, but understand the individual body the same way I would understand an individual body in the creative space. So there's no difference here. It's just a fabulous analogy.
Hmm.
Um, uh, and 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 by having the skill of analogical thinking cognitively, it makes my task and my aim for something like a Nobel Peace Prize a little easier, in the sense of I can actually hold on to this. These are a lot of different things
Right.
organized in one space. But since it's organized in one space, I can handle this. I can handle it, and it's hard and it's tough. You know, some a friend of mine said at one point. I think he got this from Jim Rohn, a motivator speaker, and but he said, James, it's almost like you're herding cats. And I said, no, 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 no. The process before finding my choreographic voice felt like herding cats, but
Right.
now everything's in one space. It's more like a spider in its web,
Hmm.
and everything is set, strands connecting different intensities and different opportunities, but everything's has this braid, has this weave. Everything's threaded. It's quite nice. And then if anything tries to interrupt it, nothing breaks. It's just caught. So that means you can kind of handle anything, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, looking at the world, nature, others from a choreographer's eye, a choreographic perspective, has helped me. And I am under an understanding that it will help others.
Right. Well, James, we've gotten to hear about your philosophies and your professional career and your teaching career and all of these aspirations that you have. And with all of that, I'd love to know if you could share with us a little known fun fact about yourself that maybe not a lot of people know about you.
A fun fact about me, that a lot of people may not know. That's interesting. Uh, I mean, okay. Well, maybe this is just, well, duh. But I mean, I read a lot, but I actually don't read about dance much. I mentioned Brian Greene, but I read a lot of science. I read a lot of philosophy. So I read a lot, and then on the dance end, I move to understand dance itself, and then I'll pick up a book here and there. But we need to write more. So I explained that earlier, or stated that earlier. But there are some nice biographies out there that we can read about. We can read about others and their methods, but I read a lot. Another thing is I have tattoos that most people may not know. And those tattoos are three eagles. And an eagle is my just favorite animal.
Yeah.
Uh, and what I love about an eagle is the fact that an eagle uh, understands that when there's a storm occurring in the distance, understands that that storm is going to create chaos within the environment that it's hovering. And
Mhm.
that chaos is going to create waves on the body of water. And that is going to motivate fish to come closer to the surface of the water. So the eagle actually flies toward the storm despite the danger,
Right.
while all of the other birds fly away. So I love that nature of an eagle, and that inspires me. You know, others may be going another direction, but I'm going to go in mine
Mhm.
because even though it's going to be hard, and I may get hurt, I may die, I may fail, whatever it is, it's all scary stuff,
Mhm.
sure, but the opportunity outweighs all of it, right? The eagle's going to fly in, gather food, and then bring it back for its young.
Mhm.
I'm going to go in and do all of the activity and all of the hard work and try to understand all of the above, aim for the Nobel Peace Prize. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to share
Mhm.
all
Right.
of that information. So it's all worth it for me. So that's it. Maybe a lot of people don't know that about me, but that's what I'm about. I it I People know I enjoy helping, sure, but maybe that's the one thing.
I was gonna say, I can only imagine somebody who may not have known that about you before now, after this conversation and listening to it, definitely would understand it. Not just from that answer, but from all of the answers you've given about your goals and aspirations, and how the end goal is almost always to inspire others. And that's just so admirable of you, and just definitely speaks to your character, James. Um, well, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. And I'd love for you to share with our listeners where they can find you next, what you're up to, um, and if they want to follow your journey to the Nobel Peace Prize, how they can do that.
Well, social media. I am on Instagram at boyjames03. Uh, and then I have a fabulous business titled Art and Flight Incorporated. I'm the founder of it. And you can find Art and Flight Incorporated on Instagram, Art in Flight INC. In addition to Art in Flight, you can go and visit our website, www.artinflightinc.com. And you can just find out how we're inspiring the many with our different programs that are coming up. We have one coming in July 2021. And that is our mentorship program. It's a 2-week summer intensive, ages 12 to 18. Uh, get after it if you can. And then that's going to be an annual event. So if you missed it, then look out for that next summer, 2022. Following that, we have a fabulous program titled the Enhancement Program starting August 1st, 2021. That is an annual event. So if you missed the opportunity this August, then feel free to come back next year. And we're bringing in some amazing people, guest artists to come help us with these programs and to inspire you. I'll leak one for you, Caroline, for the
Yes,
enhancement
please.
program. We have Justin Prescott coming in as a craftsman, as a choreographer and a creator for the enhancement program. And he was just uh, a dance double for one of the main characters in The Heights that was just recently released. So big news, and we have 5 other choreographers that are coming on board. So a fabulous program there. So that's art and flight. And I wear other hats. I am full-time faculty member for Troy University. Um, follow my Instagram. Follow Troy University on Instagram. We have a BFA page, which is absolutely fabulous. We can put all of this information, if we can add all of this via, so people can read. But we have two large shows, one in the fall, um, high budget shows, one in the fall and one in the spring for both dance and theater. So follow us. We have some amazing shows coming up. And then micro events in between those large shows. And you get to see just the talented dancers and the talented theater majors there at Troy University. Yeah, just some exciting things coming up in Alabama. A lot of collaboration. And then we have United Ballet Theater. I'm the Chief Operations Officer for United Ballet Theater. Another leak, I am also the newly announced resident choreographer for United Ballet Theater.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I said I co-choreographed a premiere work titled Quintessence earlier this year, and now moving forward as resident choreographer. There'll be two major works probably coming out of the company, being produced from United Ballet Theater each year. But UBT, their season starts up in August, new season. So look out for United Ballet Theater under the artistic direction of Joseph Gotti. And yes, and I mean, that's it. You have Art and Flight, you have Troy University, and you have United Ballet Theater. And then more information, more exciting things to come, such as dancers how can dancers influence each other in ways of internal reaction and external reaction with their, let me start over with that. I'm not even, you know what? I'm not even going to say that part because I'm giving too much away. I'm giving too much away. I'm trying to, I'm trying to plug in this is gonna be a
Another
little
sneak
super.
preview.
Yeah, but I can't do it without giving away too much.
No
So,
problem.
so I will let that be. But there's some fascinating things occurring and happening with dance and science. So that is happening.
So exciting. Well, James, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us and for all of the advice and inspiration you shared with us today. I know I'm walking away from this conversation inspired, and I'm sure all of our listeners are as well. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Caroline. I'll do this anytime. Yeah, just let me know. This was fun, and thank you for what you're doing. Just sharing vital information, reaching out, doing all of the hard labor for the convenience for someone to just sit down and listen. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
It's
you.
my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Well, James, have a great day, and thank you again for speaking with us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I just so enjoyed that conversation. I hope that it was interesting to listen to. I just had such a great time with James. And, I think if we hadn't put a time cap on it, we probably could have kept talking for another 4 hours. I hope you got something from our conversation. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about some different philosophies behind dance that maybe you've never heard about before. And I felt like that was a very inclusive conversation. I hope that we didn't leave anything to the imagination. I hope that it was all pretty straightforward and that everybody was able to get something out of it. Thank you so much for joining us today on Anyone Can Move. And as always, listeners, remember to keep moving, stay curious, and stay confident.